the service, that they would be coordinated, as well as like membership and leadership. And I know we have committee chairs, ICCs here. We have members of our core committees. We have also the regional reps. And so I want to thank all of you for your leadership in making some of these things of transitions, changes, and opportunities in this first year of the biennium. So as I mentioned yesterday, I have yet to get to headquarters as president. So it's been a little challenging, to say the least. In our board meetings, I mentioned yesterday, the only time we block out is 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. and we only have 4-hour meetings instead of our regular 8-hour meetings. So what does a president do that isn't at headquarters, has only the electronic meetings? Okay, I'm trying to, does this not advance? I have to, what are we missing? It didn't want it. Ah, all right. I don't know if you can see the details, but that's my dining room. And there's the tripod with the camera. I've done a lot of videos. Hanging from the chandelier is my script. And then, I don't know if you can see the window, but we have that, it's south facing. So there's a lot of light coming in. And then it reflects on my glasses. So I'm always trying to figure out what time can I do it. And you have to avoid when the lawn people come. And so it's actually supported there with there's a whiteboard, but it's got to be high enough at my eye level. So I have a stack of books holding it up. So engineering at its best. So that I have done a lot of videos, and sometimes I have to just take a break and say, oh, it's another video, but it's really a way to reach out to our members and to show my appreciation and recognition. I've done videos for clubs with 50-year anniversaries and recognition there. And I think it's so important. That's one of the things that I'm really focusing on, is engagement with our members and making our members feel important. And I think it's a refocusing in what we do, because when you are very special to Zanta, you are going to be working more for that mission and what we do. And I think it works both ways. So I really, that is a focus for me, is you. So we already heard about the Welcome to Zanta booklet. This started out in the 2014, 2016 biennium. And at Nice, if you were in Nice, when you walked out of that convention, you got the first edition of the Welcome to Zanta. And I was leading that task force that started that, to have that Welcome to Zanta booklet, because we looked at the manuals and we said, you know, this is great for leaders, but for the new member who's coming in and just starting to learn those acronyms, and you know, maybe you won't ask the question in their board meeting, in the business meetings, to say, what does that mean? What does that mean? And so after the concept, then Zonta International did all of the hard work in putting together the Welcome to Zanta booklet. And one of the things, again, that I wanted to start with this biennium was a refresh of that Welcome to Zanta booklet. So you have the refreshed version. It's only $39 for 50 of these. So please go to the store, buy some, take them back to your clubs. It's great for potential members too, to learn a little bit about what Zanta is. It's very quick and simple. And if you're a small club, maybe you've got another small club sitting at your table and you can say, how about we split it? But please take some of these back, go to our store and purchase those. Now, where did I do with this? I have to find my clicker. So I want to go through some of the things that we have started this biennium. And one is the Remarkable Women series. How many have listened to a Remarkable Women series? Wonderful. We wanted to highlight women who have their message and their story that we can listen to and learn from and just be inspiring as well. One of the things we also wanted to do is make it a regular event. We didn't want it to just, okay, it's this month, we're going to do something. Are we going to do something next month or not? But we set it up so that we have it every month, and you can see the ones that we've already had. I had the privilege of being the first one, and we just had Holly Ransom 2 days ago. So if you haven't listened to them online live, which I haven't because they are sometimes not my time zone, but we are recording them, and you can go to the website. You will be inspired listening to the various ones, and Lynn Foley is our host for that, and she does a great job. So if you haven't had that opportunity, please listen to some of those Remarkable Women series. And they will be continuing into the spring, the rest of this biennium, but we have only identified those for this biennium. So we also have changed to being with our leadership update. It used to be that it went out once every other month. And we said, no, there's so much information and we want it to be relevant. So we changed it to being a monthly leadership update. We also know when you get shorter, concise, what's needed for the next 30 days, then you can act on it. You can bring it to your club meetings. And we feel that the relevance of that is important to have it on, again, a more regular information to our club presidents and our leadership. So we also started the First for Women. So have you noticed have any of you seen those First for Women? I see a few hands. So these are some initiatives that we have started, and recognizing that we have accomplished. There are women who have achieved things, and we should be proud of that. And it also reflects on what we still need to do. We've, again, as I said, my focus on our members. We have reestablished a new member orientation that occurs monthly. Even though it says new member, it is open to any member of Zanta to listen to this. And I've had my own club members and in my district say, I listened to that. It was really useful information. I'd forgotten about some of the things. And so it's a very informal, but it's a wonderful informational tool for new members and refreshing your knowledge. We've also, on a once a quarter, started a new club orientation. And all of this is handled through headquarters. So we just finished, and Karen is here and as membership chair with there's Karen. We just completed our membership campaign for this first year of the biennium. We will be continuing it for the second year. And we decided to divide it up into tiers because we know our clubs are different sizes and we shouldn't have the same criteria for every club. So we divided it up into the tiers as shown here. And we were very proud of the success of this first one, our pilot for our Add Your Voice campaign. And so thank you to all of the clubs who participated in the Add Your Voice campaign. If you recall in the governing documents from when we started this biennium, I had the goal of making Zanta's foundation more visible. Zonta International Foundation doesn't say and have the word women. And we wanted to have that recognition for the organization so that when you search on foundations and that, we would show up. So we put in the biennial goal that we would be doing business as Zonta Foundation for Women. We completed the first year of that. We got all the paperwork done so that we, to the outside world, the words were Zanta Foundation for Women, but legally we were still with our IRS with Zonta International Foundation. I'm very proud to say that at our foundation board meeting last week, the board voted to complete the changeover to only be Zanta Foundation for Women. So that's definitely a step in the right direction. We got a lot of feedback that changing the name was good. And so now we are working those steps to officially make it the Zanta Foundation for Women. And you won't hear the word ZIF anymore, but believe me, there are still times when I say ZIF, but you have to remember, we are no longer ZIF. So Zanta Foundation for Women. And I am now going to have Megan talk about some of the other things that we have been doing this biennium.
All right. Oh, can you hear me? I'm going to sit and not walk around. Sharon's a walker. I'm not. Sharon has talked a bit about the new biennium, the first of Zanta's second century, and one of the biennial goals that she had this biennium was to issue new statements from Zonta International on some of the most important issues facing women and girls today. And so on June 5th, which was World Environment Day, Zonta International released a new statement on climate change, a gender equality issue. I hope everyone has seen it, but our goal for this statement is not to just issue a statement and let it kind of live on our website. We really want to carry this theme through the rest of the biennium, starting with a webinar in September on the topic that will be put on by the International Advocacy Committee. So watch for this topic to continue to be in our communications throughout the remainder of this biennium. So last night when we did our roundtables, I had a chance to talk to many of you about the Commission on the Status of Women. I shared that when I started with Zanta almost 12 years ago, we had 11 people that went to New York for the CSW. In our last in-person event, which was 2019, we had 140 Zantans that were in New York. So as many of you may know, unfortunately it was canceled in 2020 due to COVID. In 2021, they put on their first ever virtual CSW. We had over 250 Zantans from 32 countries that got online and participated during the 2-week session. So thank you, bravo to all of you. You know, while the virtual format lost some of the things that we love about CSW, being together in New York, the fellowship that's so much a part of Zanta that I hear from all of you is a reason why you're here, it also allowed so many more people to participate, people who either didn't have the time or the means to go to New York. So they had over 25,000 gender equality advocates from around the world and basically broke their system. So a few of you expressed frustration with how the event was organized or how difficult it was. And Pamela Morgan, who's our UN committee chairman, she was on the planning committee, and I know they worked so hard and they learned a lot from that first year. We do anticipate that the 2022 CSW will also be virtual. And so if you weren't able to participate, I encourage you to do so. It's a really rewarding experience, and I know they're working to build another fantastic event. So I mentioned earlier the webinar on climate change. This is part of a 5-part series being organized by the International Advocacy Committee. They'll do another session in November on gender-based violence and cyberbullying, a session in February on women in the workplace, and a session in May on human trafficking and sexual violence. Our first one was on child marriage this past May, and we got really great feedback. So if you're able to attend, I encourage you to do so. And of course, Zanta Says No continues to be kind of the focal point of our advocacy activities around the world. We continue to be amazed year after year about the activities that are being taken on by clubs. And we look forward to featuring more of those this year during November and December. And we will be issuing a new toolkit in September for clubs. Last night, I heard so many wonderful stories of club activities and Z and Golden Z Club activities that we've never heard about at headquarters. So we really want to feature your club's work on our website, in our magazine, in our newsletter, but we need to hear about those stories. So please use the Share Your Story feature on our website. You can submit as many times as you want. It doesn't have to be one project, one club. Please continue to share those stories. I heard so many fantastic examples last night, and we're always looking for more stories. So I just wanted to briefly talk about the international service projects that Marianne mentioned this morning. We had the opportunity recently, President Sharon, President-elect Uta, Allison, and myself, to meet with our UN partners and talk about the projects and where they're at. The first project is Adolescent Girls Health and Protection in Peru. This is a project in partnership with UNICEF USA. And their UNICEF Peru colleagues joined us for a call a couple weeks ago to talk about the project. You know, we're also fortunate to be sitting here together today in the same room. Peru is really still very much struggling from COVID-19. Only 18,000 of the 8 million students that should be in school in Peru are in an actual school. We saw video of the kids and how they're learning. They're sitting outside, learning from loudspeakers that are broadcasting lessons over the radio. It's a very difficult situation for them. But despite these obstacles, I saw a lot of hope from the UNICEF Peru group, and they are really focused on still implementing the project activities and seeing results. And so I shared a few results on the screen, but we'll be publishing a full progress report in the next couple weeks. We also had a chance to meet with UNFPA to talk about our new project in Papua New Guinea and Timor-Leste. Like Peru, these two countries are very much struggling still from COVID-19. They shared stories that women's shelters are closed, so the women that worked at these shelters are taking women into their own homes. They're really struggling still there. Yet again, I think they remain hopeful. They said they're about 6 months behind on the project implementation right now, but they're coming up with a plan for how to move activities forward for the remainder of the biennium. And they've set up calls with our communications team at headquarters. They just met yesterday, actually, to talk about how to give more information about this project. And what we learned is that we're really creating a foundational basis for a nationwide response to gender-based violence in these countries. And it's really important work that Zanta's doing to build the infrastructure and the base for this work going forward. Let Us Learn Madagascar is probably a project many of you are familiar with. Zonta International has been working on it for quite a few years now. Last year when COVID-19 hit Madagascar, Zonta International allowed UNICEF Madagascar to reallocate some of its funding for learning materials to be produced and distributed to girls at home so that they could continue to learn during school closures. And they've really continued to make progress on this project despite these obstacles. And we just issued a full progress report on that project, which is on our website. And then our last project is the Global Program to End Child Marriage, again, which I know we've talked quite a bit about. This project, before COVID-19, 100 million girls were at risk of child marriage over the next 10 years. And UNFPA and UNICEF estimate that 10 million more girls are now at risk of child marriage. And really the biggest struggle that they've shared is that so many girls are out of school, and their fear is, will they ever return? And that can be one of the biggest drivers of child marriage, is when girls leave school. So they're really focusing on how to redirect some of their programming to address these things. They also found, though, that so many girls don't have access to technology still. And so a lot of these virtual learning opportunities that work here in the United States or Canada or elsewhere, they just don't work there. And so they're trying to address these barriers so that they can really reach girls. I just briefly wanted to mention here that you heard a lot about the child marriage program yesterday in the US, and I encourage you to visit stopchildmarriages.org. But we really are bringing this issue down to a national and state level, and I look forward to seeing how the clubs in Canada do that as well. So I just wanted to reiterate, Marianne said this morning that these projects are only possible with your support. And despite COVID and all the challenges of the last year, we've seen so much generosity from Zontans around the world through our Every Member Every November campaign, Rose Day, and other opportunities. So we can't thank you enough. And please know that you truly are making a difference for these women and girls. We hear about it, and we want you to know that too. So part of our goal this biennium is to really give clubs tools and resources to be able to do your work as easily as possible. We want to make your jobs easier. And so we've developed a series of toolkits for different campaigns, from Zanta Says No to Every Member Every November, the Add Your Voice campaign that Sharon mentioned. We have an online district conference toolkit. And now the endowment committee has a My Present for the Future. This is a new giving opportunity for the endowment fund. We're trying to make your jobs easier. If there's something you need that you don't have, please let us know. Please share the feedback. If there's other toolkits we can help with, we want to make those available to you. And we heard, if you were here yesterday, you heard from Catherine and Ela about the Zanta USA Advocacy Action Center. So I'll make it brief, but there's a postcard on your table that has the URL for the Action Center. It is so easy to use. All you have to do is enter your email address and zip code to sign up. If you save the information, it stays in the system. So when you come back, you don't have to re-enter it. And when you want to click an action or take an action, you just click on the action. If your information is not saved, you enter it again. You can either send an email to your elected officials, or you can tweet and you click send. It really only takes a matter of seconds. So please, please take action. And then finally, I feel like a recurring theme I've heard from all of you is people don't know what Zanta is or who Zanta is. And so the PRNC committee this biennium has issued a new challenge for clubs to submit a Zanta elevator speech. What is Zanta? And they announced the campaign on June 1st. They're going to have a toolkit that comes out on August 1st. And clubs have until October 8th to submit their Zanta elevator speech. You can submit it via text or video. And then they will announce the winners on October 22nd. And we really encourage every club to do this. Please be creative. We want to know what Zanta means to you. And this is a worldwide campaign. So we look forward to seeing what comes from Zanta clubs around the world. And I'm going to turn it over to Mari.
So now that you all feel warm and fuzzy about all the great work that Zanta does, I'm going to talk about finance and investments. Are y'all with me? Well, something new this biennium. The finance and investment committees have been working on developing long-range planning from financial and investment strategies for both Zanta and the foundation. And when I look at it, the endowment committee, Jackie Beaudry and her team actually started the process by strengthening the position of our endowment through the Centennial Anniversary Endowment Campaign. So now the next step, we've produced a 10-year, 5-biennium financial forecast to basically look at several what-if scenarios. Now that's exciting for me, and I hope all of you feel that. Right? Yeah. Okay. And this allows us to look at the future impact of budget decisions. So currently, the finance committees are working on spending and reserve policies to continue our strong financial position. And the investment committee has hired new investment advisors to help us coordinate the investments with our spending and reserves. Now, there was a question, and I know the leadership update, we talked about some changes in the funds within the foundation. And your contributions to the foundation will be used to fund our programs education, and international service. So what we've done is we basically have just isolated that money in one fund. So no changes. It'll continue as it always has. And we continue to track those dollars that you have specified that you want them for international service, YWPA, or the endowment. I think I've said enough.
Thank you, Maury. If you missed it, I'm Allison Summers. I've had the pleasure of being your executive director for the last 8 years. And so for the people that I haven't met in the room, please come and say hello. On behalf of international headquarters, I mean, you've got this great report from Megan, but I want to express to you how many well wishes we carried here from our international headquarters team, specifically our international membership team, which is membership manager Sheila, Phyllis, Emma, and Mariah, who I know many of you email with all the time. I want to dovetail into some of what Maury said. Is at headquarters, Megan gets to do a lot of the fun projects, and I shoulder to shoulder with Maury on a lot of money projects, database projects, and how we make sure the organization works. Nobody likes being told what portion of their $88 dues goes to manage the database, goes to manage staff salaries, goes to manage these things. But I want to tell you, 2 years ago, when we relocated the office and we downsized the office space and we redid our entire technology structure, which your international treasurer was a big part of this, we put everything into the cloud. So guess what? When COVID hit the state of Illinois last year in March, we deployed all our staff to work virtually at that time, and we did not miss a beat. And so things like these 10-year forecasts and these technology projects and the things that we're asking you all to do as drivers and leaders in your club to do your own updates online, they help us make our money go further. And so I just share that. It's not as exciting as talking about Peru and what our good things are doing, but it's key. So the theme of my slide really is data, data, data. Thank you so much for sending somebody to do the training on how to manage your member records and your club records online. We don't need to do that for you. I don't need to be paying an hourly person to sit and retype your membership lists in our database. We understand it's a big learning curve, and we're there to help, but just thank you for participating in that and understanding the bigger picture. We want you to manage your own records. Payments, we want to make payments easier for you. We did add PayPal this past year. I know not all clubs are set up on PayPal, maybe in the US, but in other countries, PayPal makes a lot of sense. We spend a lot of money in wire translations and fees, but at headquarters, we accept money through credit card, check, ACH transfer, wire transfer, SEPA transfer, and PayPal transfer. We are trying to do what we can to help make your life easier. And you can update everything online and then just send us a check. We have a club that sent us a very lovely card recently with this beautiful butterfly and this lovely handwritten note and their check, but they had done all the work online first. Data privacy is like the bane of my existence lately. I don't know how many of you, I know if the California clubs are absolutely talking about data privacy, but follow me here. We need to legally follow data privacy laws in every country that Zanta works in. It's a difficult task. We are going to enter a large database cleanup project. You will all be told in advance. Again, this is not the fun, exciting stuff, but this is the stuff that actually gets Mari and I. Like, can you see the two of us in the room? We're like, ooh, we're going to purge all the financial transactions older than 7 years. So Anyway, I guess that's why you like us running the organization. But unfortunately, this means a lot of you have membership data that's 20 years old sitting in our database. It has to go. We don't legally, we don't have a legitimate business interest to hold on to data to people who no longer are dues paying members and want to be affiliated with the organization. If they signed up through the website, Megan gets to keep them because they opted in. So you will be getting a love letter from us saying you have until this date to download everything on your membership record. And then it's going to work, and we'll give you the parameters of what's going to go away. So it's just a big project we want to let you know. Areas of concern we talk a lot about, as Mari said, we're doing this 10-year forecast. And we do talk about loss of membership in North America. And we do hope we are adding things that help you recruit members. This Remarkable Women series that Sharon talked about are phenomenal speakers, and you can share it. When you get the email that says we have this great speaker, share it, invite other people to come. This is not a member only thing. We want to use it as a recruitment tool. When Megan talks about in your USA caucus committee, and we run the USA Advocacy Action Center, introduce people to it. They don't have to join Zanta right away to engage. So we are trying to help you with those types of things. We are seeing a loss of Zanta countries worldwide, and this is due to political oppression and some things that we are seeing roll backwards on gender equality. And I know, President Sharon, this is an area very much on your heart and your watch list.
So one of the countries that we just lost is Russia. And it was due to political pressure, and they could not participate. They loved being part of Zanta. They sent some beautiful emails saying, we really, really are disappointed that we cannot continue, but it's not safe for us to be involved with Zanta anymore. So we did lose Russia. We have other countries that are on our concerns list because of the political situations, such as in Turkey, Hungary, and now if you've read in the paper recently that Hong Kong has just lost its one democratic newspaper that it puts out. And so we are seeing things happening around the world that are causing a contraction. And then even in the last couple of weeks, there's been some things about South Korea and how women are being treated there now in South Korea and the male interactions there. So we do have a lot of countries that I am very concerned about in how we are able to continue our work. And it's disappointing when we see this contraction, when we really are wanting to expand into other countries. So it's something to be concerned about and to think about.
And people come to us, Megan and I get lots of emails at headquarters of people who want us at International to do something. The reality is Zonta International has been and likely always will be a grassroots organization. And so when things are happening in your states or your communities, that's when you need to mobilize more local Zontians to do the heavy lifting. What we have on this chart is something that we're sharing, not to put any district on the spot, but to raise an awareness, and also because we are self-reflecting at International. This chart here is the last 10 years in North America of club charters and club disbandments. Prior to this year, because this year's data is not rolled in, over 10 years, the North American district and clubs only chartered 20 new clubs in 10 years. They have disbanded 76 clubs in the last 10 years. And so we have to, on our side of the table, say, what is it that we can do? So Mari and I, for the last year, have been doing this membership efficiency study, and part of it included internal things with databases and financial operations, because what we want to do is get our membership staff working more on proactive things to help you. So Mari and I have been looking at other organizations, how the tools they have to help their members charter clubs. As President Sharon said, we're doing the new club orientation once a quarter. So we are open to ideas to help you because we want to hopefully get to another inter-district conference with this group and show data that is much better than this. And so I think that's a lot from me. Again, we're focused on membership. We're focused on different education programs, the statements. The climate change statement is a point of pride. I think Megan underplayed the work of her team on that statement, collaborating with the Zantians. We made it visually pretty, intended to share. Again, we wanted it to be beautiful so that you can send it to anybody in your network. Resolution 2 and Resolution 3 work we continue to work on. And we're doing a lot of support with district conferences. The district conference toolkit's available to everybody. Even if you're not planning a district conference, it's there online. And what we put on each table in front of you is a blank index card. So we are all here through tomorrow. So take an index card. If you have a question, a thought, you can give it to any one of us because we are staying in meeting on Sunday and we'll go through those cards. We'll also take a compliment if you put a compliment on a card. Yeah.
To hear from you. I mean, as Megan said, share your story, the things that we need to hear from you. I'm very much wanting to be in touch. Remember on my installation speech, I said, I'm just Sharon. I am one of you. For 2 years, I hold this position, but I will be a club member after July of next year. And it's so important to connect with all of you. And I can't tell you, I've said this before on this weekend, it is so wonderful to see you and not be staring at the screen, not be doing a video, and to be here in person. And I'm really proud that we have the hybrid because we do have our Zantians outside of the United States who are also participating. But let's go to Hamburg. A year from now, we will be in Hamburg. So things are really ramping up. We've had some challenges, of course, COVID being in Germany as well. So what happens? As we didn't have our staff at headquarters, they didn't have their staff at the CCH, the Congress Hall. So our communication with them was very stressful for several months. They also had changes in staff. So the people that I saw when I was there in 2019, they're not there now. But it has progressed. The building has progressed from when I saw it in 2019, 18, or I guess it was that I saw it. There were cranes all over. They were expanding, redoing the Congress Hall. That's all done. I'm not looking at cranes anymore. But they're just going to have their first occupants for a gathering in September of this year. And they are working 1 day a week. The office staff has been working. I believe they will be ramping up now that things have opened up more. So when we send something on 1 day of the week, it could be another week before we hear back from them. So just the challenges of putting this Hamburg convention together. But we are excited. I have my team. There's actually 4 convention co-chairs. One is Pip Diane, and she is working with me in the program itself. And along with Ellen Carroll, who is helping with that program because they've got the knowledge of what we need to do business-wise. And then Ellen is our convention treasurer. But we've just added a few months ago 2 members of District 27, and Britta and Fraka are working on that experience that you are going to have when you come to Hamburg, from setting up river cruises, from things perhaps with the Philharmonic, to perhaps, these are not all solidified, but having the dinners in some of our members' homes. Hamburg has 5 clubs. And so they are excited about welcoming us, and they are very proud of their city. There is a lot to see and do in Hamburg. Do I have the, you want to go to, oh, you're on there, thank you. So there are some changes that are going to happen with this convention. We are shortening it by 1 day. But the number of hours that you are in the convention is really only going to be shortened by about 3 hours. We are reconfiguring, you can go back and look at the convention in 2010, 12, 14, and they all look pretty similar. Well, this one's going to have a little bit different look. The Pips will not be having a dinner, they'll be having a luncheon, so that frees up an evening when we have one less day. We're still going to have workshops. Obviously, Resolution 3 with bylaws is going to be part of that convention. And we've dedicated the time for bylaws, which we know, but we're also going to have workshops at the same time. So those that are not delegates will have workshops. But there's a lot of exciting things that we are working on. And I'm just really pleased at how it's coming together, even though we have been challenged. And we are trying to catch up, because at this point in time, normally we would be a little bit further along, but because of COVID, it's taking us some extra time. I am going to be making a trip with Allison and Megan and Diane and Ellen in September to see the facility, to look at the places where we would have some of the dinners, the receptions, and just we're setting up for the districts. We're going to have lists of restaurants where the districts can get together for district gatherings, so that you don't have to try and figure out, oh, is this going to be a good place because we have about 20 people coming, or we have 5 people coming? Where would be a good place to meet? And also another change, these are a lot of changes that you'll see when it comes out. They're called the convention, and there'll be more information coming. But the district meetings, we're not going to hold formal district meetings on one of the days. And that's where we're offering these other ways in which you can meet as a district. And because this will have a hybrid element, there will be ways in which the districts can gather ahead of time electronically. So we're in this transition, part of those words of transitions, changes, but it's exciting to see. And to me, it enhances that experience of coming to convention. Yes, we cover our business, but we also are there for fellowship and meeting our friends from around the world. And we're allowing for that time. I'm also working on the awardee alumni gatherings, and the Hamburg clubs want to have something for Golden Z Club. So we have those aspects as well. So I'm excited. I hope you are too. So we have a few minutes yet. So we wanted to allow time for questions, comments, anything. We've given you some updates.
I'll get the party started.
Thank you, Karen.
Yes, Karen Patty from the Zanta Club of Sanibel Captiva. I have a question and then a plug. I guess I'll do the plug first. So my plug is, we all saw the numbers of clubs disbanded versus chartered. So in the 4th breakout session, we are going to have a session on starting new clubs. We will talk about it in general, but we'll also include the e-club component. So if you want to change those numbers, come. We know it's a multi-year process, so even if you don't currently have it in your plans, come so you can talk about it to others. Please, 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 please. My question is for Mari. I always get questions about the Rose Fund. And if someone's not passionate about one of the specific funds to donate to, could you talk a little bit about the Rose Fund, if that's a preferred way that the Zanta Foundation for Women likes to receive money, and how that money may be used in this biennium or next? Thank you.
So, are you speaking to my? Does that work? Do we have it? Okay. So what we have a hold of is, at each convention, a group of projects and education programs is basically reviewed and approved by the convention body. So what happens is that there is a fund that will cover each of those individual expenses. So you have an opportunity to decide where you want those funds to be applied. So if you decide international service, it will go to international service and go towards our international projects. If you decide that you want it to go towards the young woman in public affairs, that's where to go, and it will be applied to those educational awards. But it is very difficult for us to predict how much is going to come in for each program. So providing the donation, the contribution to the Rose Fund gives us flexibility to use it where it is needed most. So what's going to happen is we've just finished the first year of the biennium. And we have the contributions that have come in so far. We have what we've spent. We have what was available at the end of
any place where we see a negative number.
So, you know, I had this happen once at a school board meeting. The alarms went off and everyone exited. So I'm a little worried here. But, so the preference is that you give your money to the Rose Fund so that we have the flexibility to use it where we need it for that particular year. Does that help?
And it all goes to projects and programs. Nothing is going to an administrative. We are true to what was decided in San Antonio, that your contributions go to our education programs and our service projects. And Rose Fund gives us that flexibility.
Hi, this is Tamara Hagan from the Zanta Club of Madison, Wisconsin. Thank you all for your very helpful updates and a review of what's new and what's potentially coming new. My question is for Mari, and it's a follow-up question. Do you have any, at least estimates of how our funds are being funded? Any kind of percentages of where we're at the end of the first year for each of the funds?
So that's a good question. And one that I think about probably on a nightly basis. But we have some crazy US accounting rules that require us to expense our international service projects at the point in time we commit the dollars. So what is going to happen at the end of May is there will be money from the Rose Fund moved to cover international service projects. We will also be covering the Amelia Earhart Fellowships. Let's see, YWPA and JMK both have carryovers from the prior year, and we have sufficient funds. So because of the accounting rules, it's not as clear as I would like it, but we do receive a significant amount of funds for the International Service Program and the Rose Fund.
One of the things that when we make the selection as a board and the recommendations for the spending is we will not commit to any of these education awards, service projects, if we do not already have money set aside. We do not put ourselves into that. We're waiting for the money to come in. Because we have to sign contracts early with our agencies. So there is a phasing issue that we deal with, and we have confidence that we can do that because we do have the money in the Rose Fund, and that has been from prior years. And I think right now I would say that we have JMK and YWPA enough money to be funding the awards for at least one more biennium, if not into the next biennium, based on what we currently spend in those awards. There is money sitting there because once it's designated for those funds, they are spent in those funds. So it keeps carrying over from one biennium to the next, and they would never be used for another award. If it's a designated YWPA, it stays YWPA. So it will be used in future bienniums.
I'd like to make one more point, is that we are getting ready for our annual audit, and that audit report will be available online. We're probably looking towards the end of November, but that will show you the place where we're at within each of our funds, and then the annual report will also become available slightly afterwards, and that information will be available there.
Does that answer your question regarding that? No. You want to know where we are this biennium for giving?
I'm spoiled because
20, I want to say we're in 20% for Amelia Earhart. There's only 3 funds that we are asking in the biennial goal for this biennium. We are not asking for money for YWPA and JMK because we have that covered. We are asking for $700,000 for our 35 fellowships a year in Amelia Earhart. And I want to say the percentage is somewhere around 28%. Mary Ann could probably answer that much quicker than me. And then in the Rose Fund, of course, we only ask for 100,000, and that's well over that because then it allows us to give money else, to apply it where we have the shortfalls. And I want to say we're in the 30% for our international service. A reminder, our ZISVA fund is no longer open for new money coming in. We have consolidated that because our projects, Peru, Madagascar, ending child marriage, they all have elements of violence against women that we are preventing. So we condense that to being just international service. So you don't see you'll see giving for the first year of the biennium into the ZISVA fund, but since we are no longer using that terminology, we are moving, that will cover the projects, but it's international service. And I think, is Mary Ann here? That she knows the numbers off the top of her head? Otherwise, I think Megan is looking up.
well, thank you for that follow-up. I guess I have to give a plug for our foundation ambassadors. They always do a great job, and they have these nice charts, and they have, we're 350% over in Rose Fund. We're only 21% in. So they encourage, and that's sort of the data I was looking for. So your follow-up was very good. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, yes. So we are, I think for the biennium at the end of May or June, we're at the net is 42% of the biennium giving, and for a total of just over 2 million. And so we are at that point. So we should have been at least 50%. We're at 42%. And the giving that we asked for this biennium is less than last biennium.
Good morning.
Hi, Pat.
Hi. Pat Latona, Zanta Club of New York, Governor District 3. It's money related, but it's a suggestion. And I know some of the Zantans sitting in this room already do that. is when you have a big birthday, which I did have a couple of years ago, instead of asking for gifts, I asked my guests to donate to the Zonta International Foundation, and a lot of money was given. So that's another way of getting your friends and relatives to donate money. Also, everybody is now buying things online through Amazon, and there's Amazon Smile. So if you click on that, there are proceeds that go into Zonta International Foundation. So that's an idea.
And I want to also, as it said, foundation ambassadors, believe me, thank you. Thank you for what you do for our foundation. I really, truly, and all of us on the board truly appreciate the efforts of our foundation ambassadors. You do a great job. Ann.
Hi, Ann Hodgson. I'm I'm a member of the Zonta Foothills Club of Boulder, Colorado, and I'm the District 12 governor. And I'm sorry, but this is another money question. You haven't mentioned anything about the endowment, and I'm very curious about where we're moving as an organization with, I mean, I know a lot of other service organizations fund everything from money that's thrown off from their endowment. Are we moving in that direction, or what's our plan for the endowment money?
The plan is that we continue to grow the endowment to $10 million. And so we have that on one hand. The other is we're looking for that perfect project to fund. So once we have both of those in alignment, we will start spending from the endowment. We spent a significant amount of time recently going through various factors, looking at the financial climate, looking at our investments, looking at basically where we're at. And it was determined that it would be best to wait until both of those factors are met. The endowment right now is over $6 million. So it's steadily increasing through investments and contributions. Yeah, the AE is close to 700,000 at this point.
So the
And,
purpose really is to fund another project that we will identify in the future, as opposed to throwing off money for something else.
One of the biennial goals that is in the governing documents that I have, that the delegates agreed to in our voting, not at convention, but online, was that we would be studying and proposing this biennium at the end in Hamburg, candidate projects that could be looked at for support with the interest earned off of the endowment. So in Hamburg, the goal is to have suggested things that we could support, whether it is new projects or whether it is complementing something we already have. We've not gotten to that point, but one of my objectives for this biennium is that we study what we as an organization would want to do with that interest earned, based on the spending plan and the advice of the finance committees. We want to get to that achievement of the $10 million before we start spending, because you start eroding, then the growth isn't there. So the intent was to grow it until it got to the 10 million, but at the same time, starting this study and things like they would probably, they wouldn't be in the $1 million. I mean, we're not, if you look at our spending policy, we would not be spending a lot of money each biennium. They would be smaller projects. So then what do we support in smaller projects? Maybe it's something related to our domestic violence that we know exists around the world. We just haven't gotten that far. I'm just kicking off that study at this point on what some of those project ideas might be, and they would be further developed over the next couple of bienniums, come to the convention floor for the delegates to vote on how we would spend that interest from the endowment. On the Amelia Earhart, we have a spend policy at this point that it has to be at least 500,000 in the account, and we have achieved that. We are looking at when to start drawing from interest earned to complement the Amelia Earhart program. So that's stuff we are working on. We are not ready to present a full plan.
I have a question from the virtual panel here.
Yes.
They love the logo for the Hamburg meeting,
Great. Thank you. I love the logo too.
but the important question is how much of the Hamburg meeting will be virtual?
We haven't made that decision. So just hold tight. We're working on that.
Thank you.
So the question was how much of the convention will be virtual, and we have not made those decisions. We're just starting to really look at that type of a hybrid.
Good morning, President Sharon and all. Kim Hurlika Tigas, Zonta Club of Columbus, Ohio, is it District 5. This is probably for, it's not a finance question, sorry. This is probably for Meg. We were putting you to it today. Megan, this is probably more for you. We talk about the climate crisis, and yes, it's affecting everyone around the globe, especially women and girls. And it's a nice statement on our website, but it's so large. It's such a large issue. And maybe there's things in the works, but because it's a large issue, is there a way that we can tailor it down to a project that we can, and other Zantas, we've talked about this, a project we can all get around, such as ending child marriage or whatever. And I mean, an example is that I believe it's an American developed cook fires are harming the health of numerous women and girls around the world. They are the mainstay of making meals in villages and places. And that smoke that they're inhaling is very harmful to their health. And there's an American who developed a stove that is cost effective and would stop them from inhaling that. So, I mean, that's just an example of a project versus a huge issue. So maybe there's one coming up.
Yeah, so we don't have any plans right now for a project at the international level, but I hear what you're saying about how do you bring it down to the club level. And so like I said, we are going to carry this theme throughout the remainder of the biennium and come back to you with kind of breaking it down into smaller pieces of what clubs can do with it. I will say, we do know in District 25, the governor has challenged the clubs in District 25, which is Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and India, to come up with a club project. He's doing a little bit of a competition for their district conference. So maybe there's ways you can brainstorm with the clubs in your district of something that you could do at a state or local level. We also have our clubs in Australia in District 23. I think it's 23. They have a program called Zanta Says Now to take action for climate change. They have a whole website. They're doing a lot of work on the topic. So I encourage you to really work with other Zanta clubs and figure out how you can share information, share ideas, and then we hope to be able to drive some of those ideas down to the clubs as well going forward. I think the advocacy webinar will kind of be our next step on that, and there's more to come.
Thank you.
One more question from the virtual end here. Should we change estate plans to Zanta Foundation for Women from ZIF? Estate plans.
Estate plans. The estate plans need to change, no?
Yeah, I was gonna say, we're
Estate plans, if they have it in the Zonta International Foundation, what has to be done now that we are officially going Zonta Foundation for Women?
Yeah, so your development manager, Eva, we have a long checklist that we're going through. Currently today, they do not, because we've, to this point, we've still been legally Zonta International Foundation. But when we do make the legal change, which we're in the process now of updating our articles of incorporation and other pieces, we are going to send a specific communication to everyone that we know of that has joined the Mary E. Jenkins 1919 Society. And so they will receive a special communication. And on that note, if there's anybody in the room who's interested in learning more about how to join the Mary Jenkins 1919 Society and include Zanta in your estate planning, just find one of us and we'll get you that information. I think there's information on the table out here. So it's a great question.
Thank you.
It's not staying in. There it is. Sally Rankin's on a club, E-Club of USA 2. I just have a question. I've been in Zanta 30 years. We have spent millions and millions and millions of dollars around the world. And I'm just wondering if there's ever going to be a North American service project.
Good question. Yeah, I agree with you. We haven't had that, and I just don't have an answer for it. Yes, yes. Thank you for bringing that up. We do need to put our lenses on. Yes.
Hello, I'm Jean Phillips. I'm from the Zanta Club of Kenmore, which is outside of Buffalo District 4. And I have a membership question. Some of the statistics that you put on in terms of membership going down and so on, and disbanding of some groups, I have found a number of very active women and so on who are interested in Zanta, but they really have a problem with the financial responsibilities involved in being a Zanta member. And I was just wondering whether in the efforts to increase membership, whether you had any suggestions on what could be done in those types of cases.
I was just going to say, I think it's an excellent question. And, you know, when you train on strategic planning or big things, you know, I think, you know, Mari and I, especially if you give us a glass of wine, will be like, you know, what could it look like if dues could be half of what they are? Like, how could we sustain the organization, still deliver what we deliver? And how do we get individuals to be members? Because if we talk to everybody in this room, you all have very different club experiences. And it's not, you know, your $88 international. In Europe, they have area dues in a lot of places. Then you have your district dues. Then you have your club meetings. You have, so I think it's beholden on all of us to rethink this model. And we do a lot of fundraising. And I know there's clubs that do extensive interviews for members and say, this is your financial commitment for fundraising. And so I think we're in this place with this Resolution 2 project of what could it look like to get more individuals engaged and get them engaged at a place that's cost effective. And I do know of clubs that have a fund to support or help carry their members who can't pay their dues for whatever reason in that year, or they waive dues at a club level for more senior level members. And so it is something that we talk about. I can't give you an immediate solution. I think it's part of what's on the table for this Resolution 2 evaluation, because at the end of the day, our mission is helping individuals be smarter about issues facing women and then knowing what to do about it. That's ultimately what our mission is. And how do we get more people on board? Sharon?
I would also say that there's a lot of sensitivity and work at the boardroom that we are not going to raise dues for many, many years. We are working our grant that we typically give from ZI to the foundation to support the foundation, so that goes away eventually, the grant, and we can keep the monies on the international side to support the membership and the things that we do on the Zonta International, and that the foundation becomes self-sufficient. So these are ways in which we are constantly looking at the budgets, what we want to do, need to do, and making sure that we're not going to have dues increases, because I know that's always on people's minds. Oh, we're going to convention. Is there going to be a dues increase? No, there's no dues increase. So we're very much aware of the sensitivity, and believe me, some of the exchange rates for some of the countries, if we think we are struggling at 88, they look at what their exchange rates are. So there are voices at the table that we're always talking about, how do we handle this and what can we do? So we're very much aware of the sensitivity. Maggie.
Maggie Kalika, Zonta Club of Anchorage, District 8 Governor. I just wanted to take the opportunity. I know this has been a crazy biennium so far, and I wanted to acknowledge President Sharon and her leadership and keeping us all in the loop. Sorry. Very impressed with your office. Thanks for sharing that picture, because I know when I'm on those Zoom calls, I'm always conscious of what's in my peripheral vision in back of me. And I also want to thank the staff and all of the international board members for all of your work. I know that it's pretty much a shoestring staff, and you do a lot for our organization, and I appreciate you very, very much.
I think one more question and then we'll break. So
All right,
please.
I'm Grace Chan. I'm from the Zonta Club of Troy, South Oakland, District 15. In our club, we have had people saying that we cannot afford the dues. So we've made a special exception, and whoever member wants to do it, we have them pay at least a third of their dues before May 31st. The club will cover their dues and pay them to Zonta International, and then they have until September. We don't charge them interest. We have until September to pay, and so therefore our members do stay our members. So just to let you know, that's how we do it.
Thank you for sharing.
Say real quick.
Go ahead, Marion.
Thank you. So to date, our Amelia Earhart Fellowship is at 24% of goal. Our international service projects is at 30% of goal, and our Rose Fund always breaks records at 503% of goal. So what I'd like you to keep in mind, however, is that the international service projects and the AEF are restricted funds, which means that your dollars go to those particular funds. If they are underfunded, and as Mari said, the unrestricted Rose Fund supplements whatever money that we need. And that is wonderful to have that there, but also keep in mind that if you are passionate about one of the projects or about the AEF, if your money goes to those particular funds, that frees up, if you will, the Rose Fund for other opportunities, such as the Women in Tech Scholarship, which is fully funded through the Rose Fund donations. So again, just whatever your passion lies, just know that every single dollar that you give to the foundation goes to the projects. It is not funding any salaries or any operational costs. Thank you.
So I just want to end with a thank you. Thank you to all of you for what you do in service and advocacy for women around the world. Thank you. And we'll be here all weekend, so either put your comments on index cards or come see us. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, panel. And I appreciate all of the questions and comments. Ladies, just real quick, one announcement.